Hello guys, VSLike here. Now, as you guys know, I'm a bit of a gamer. I have, my own collection of games and everything. Of course, this is only probably not even a quarter of the games that I have. But, of course, I'm not going to be, talking about anybody like they're an idiots because there's a reason why people think the way that they think. Society teaches us this kind of stuff. And that's part of the reason why I have the channel that I have is because I want to, of course, teach people that, the things that society sometimes teaches us isn't always right. Sometimes, and it's because sometimes society teaches us things in order to take advantage of us later on, or if they're trying to sell us something. Now, one of the biggest things that I tend to see, especially with, let's say, for this instance, video games. And of course, as you guys can see, I have this game here. And as you've already maybe have seen before, I have, Last of Us, or as I like to call it, The Lust of Us, Part 2, Battlefront 2, GTA 5. Those are, I'd say, a lot of the majority of the more popular games. And of course, as you saw in the title, it states, remember, it's just a game. And there is a reason for that. Now, of course, not too long ago, these two games here, of course, I dropped those other games that I was just picking off of. These two games came out not too long ago. Of course, this was really overhyped. And, of course, when it came out, with a lot of other overhyped games that come out, aka, how about, let's say another example, Watch Dogs. Now, I, of course, actually played the first Watch Dogs, and I didn't think the game was anything special. In fact, I thought it was hilarious when they said that they were going to have actual hacking in the game. I was like, yeah, right. But, The Last of Us 2, people, the company itself overhyped it, the people overhyped it, and then guess what happened? A lot of people were disappointed because it was overhyped. And that's why I'm stating in this, video, just remember, it's just a game. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually liked this game. I didn't really care for the ending of it much. It was more about, revenge versus survival, So it wasn't necessarily so much of a survival game versus just a shoot 'em up zombie game, revenge game, is basically what I think of it. But nonetheless, it had a lot of very good graphics, gameplay, scenery, etc. But a lot of people were disappointed by it because it was overhyped, and they expected more. And the same with this game here. They had been making this game for 8 years, and then it finally came out. It was overhyped, and of course, before it came out, people thought that it was going to literally knock their socks off and blow them off the couch. Well, guess what happens? That didn't happen. You know why? Because it's just a game. People expected way too much from it. It got overhyped. And when it came out, people hated it. Now, man, shit keeps on dropping today. Now, as far as how much I like the game, I actually really love the game. Except for, of course, the glitches. Obviously, it wasn't necessarily finished when it came out. And people are still bitching about it, even though they got their money back. But they have fixed it up quite a bit. And the only version of it that really was bad, actually, was the base PS4 version. When I played it on my PS4 Pro, it was glitchy, but it wasn't really glitchy to a point where I couldn't play the game. Although, understandably, there were some people that were experiencing certain things from the game that, weren't maybe very good, or they couldn't continue the story mode, etc. Glitches like that. Now, I'm going to put this down here, and I'm going to pick up this stuff that fell on the floor. Yeah. Yes, I am wearing pajamas. Now, look at this game here. Of course, it got, it has the name Battlefront on it, but then it also has EA on it, of course. And we all know how shitty EA is It is still on like one of the top listed, companies, if not the top listed company on the planet as the least regarded company or most hated company. I'm going to move up here. Jeez. Now, this was the first time ever that, for once, people did what they needed to do in order to get these companies to listen. They paid with their wallets, is what they did. You see, when this game came out and people didn't want to deal with, the EA transactions that were originally going to be on Battlefront 2, basically pay to win kind of stuff, and loot boxes, etc. They had enough, and finally, people did what they were supposed to do to get these companies to listen. Again, they paid with their wallets. They didn't buy it. Or should I say they voted with their wallets. Now, one thing that you need to understand about these companies, especially when it comes to EA, is that they think with numbers. And when they aren't getting a certain amount of money and or selling enough copies of something or getting enough downloads from Steam, whatever you have it, when they aren't seeing the numbers, that's what makes them worry. You buying the game and then bitching about it doesn't matter to them. Of course, they might act like they're listening to you, but they aren't. Because if you are still voting with your wallets and buying into what they're selling, they're never going to listen to you. And of course, I'm not trying to call out anybody that buys a game and then complains about it, but that is something that you need to know, is that they are taking advantage of you. I'm not mad at you, of course. I'm mad at them, which is why I'm telling you this, because somebody needs to blow the whistle. And I guess it has to be me. Next stop. Of course, another big game. I've been playing this game for about 7 years now. Of course, I'm almost completely stopped playing this game now, but you know what I mean. And of course, people are always complaining about the shark card thing and the shark card deal. Now, first, when the shark cards were coming out, it was at least, I would say, reasonable enough. A bit, inflated in price, but it was still reasonable enough to pay for a shark card when the online first came out. I mean, if you paid for like an 8 million, GTA dollar shark card, that was enough to buy everything in the game at the time. But nowadays, when you pay for an $8 million shark card, all you're able to afford from a DLC is like 1 to 2 vehicles. I mean, when I bought the submarine and I paid for all of its upgrades and everything, it costed me 9 million GTA dollars just for that submarine and its upgrades. Now, of course, the people that are playing this game continue to bitch and whine about the transactions. However, they keep on buying into it. And again, if you vote with your wallet, like my brother says, then they will listen. These people are in a numbers game. And to them, it's almost quite literally a game to them. It's just a numbers game to them. And again, just remember, it's just a game. Now, of course, when this game came out, it had a ton of glitches on it, actually. But since it wasn't so overhyped, well, people loved it. You see a pattern here? With this game not being so overhyped, like some of the other games that were overhyped at the time, like Fallout 4, which was come out the same year, of course, Fallout 4 was a bit of a disappointment to people because guess what? It was overhyped. But guess what game wasn't? This one, which also CD Projekt Red made, which are the same people that made, guess it, Cyberpunk 2077. And another thing that I tend to see people complain about is DLC. Now, Borderlands 3 is also a great game. I still play it. But they have been taking such a long time coming out with this DLC for this game. And, lots of times sometimes it's, I would say, DLC that people haven't even asked for. Lots of times. Like, they've already had the planned DLC before the game even comes out. And so when you buy the game, they already have a season pass for you to pay for if you want to. I mean, of course, it's your choice to pay for it, but of course, typically people that love the game want to have the DLC, right? So that's like another $30 to $50 out of your pocket right there for another quarter of a game. Again, if you vote with your wallets, they will stop doing this. And then there comes this game. Of course, we've been seeing a lot of the same deals with this game here. This is, of course, the first game that has come out for Rockstar in a little while. Of course, I am going to still be just waiting for GTA 6 to come out, and I'm going to eventually just completely stop playing GTA 5 at some point. I'll say probably next year when I decide to sell my PS4 or something. But I think you get the point of that. But another thing to note about these types of companies, like Rockstar and other big name companies like EA, is that when these companies originally start out, with their original creative team, of course, the people that make the decisions of these games and what they're going to do with their games were the creative ones, the artists that are developing these games. They are making it look the way that they make it look and everything. However, when these names become big name games, people in marketing and stocks start to take position as head of these, companies. Because it's like I've said, it's a numbers game to them. Now that is when the corruption tends to start in a company, and pretty much any company is when the guys that do stocks and marketing tend to get into the mix. And even though they, of course, expect to, have the creators and artists make these games, they have no decision on what they come up with or what gets put into these games. Yes, the people that do the stocks and the marketing are the ones that make the final decision of what gets put into these games, not the people that are actually the artists. It's the marketers and stalkers that make the final decisions, or aka the heads of the company. So next time you complain about how corrupt a place is, or company is, or video game company, etc. is, or why they are coming out with these games early before they are finished, just to let you know, it's just a game. Also, just on the note, just try not to expect too much from a video game. If you don't expect too much, you will not get disappointed. Trust me. I've actually had to learn that the hard way. I used to actually take video games way too seriously, by the way. And 2, vote with your wallets. If you want these companies to listen, all you have to do is get rid of their numbers. And by that, you have to vote with your wallets and either pay or not pay for what they're selling. And do not ever believe that these people care about you. They might sometimes like you, but they do not care about you at all. Trust me. That being said, I will end this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.